Record. We're recording.
Okay, perfect. That means we're a go, right? You'll have to then decide whether or not. Right on time.
Always the instructor.
Right on time. So what we're going to do is, how many contacts did you get? Let's start with Amanda. If you would unmute, tell us how the weekend went. Did we get any contacts last week? How many did we add to our database?
Yeah, it was a good weekend. It wasn't super productive as far as contacts go. I think maybe 4 or 5 new leads. I think there's like 2 that I still need to follow up with today. So nothing too significant.
Okay.
Just a lot of turkey.
Lots of turkey. Lots of family, hopefully.
Not really, actually. We were going to go down to my parents' house. We decided not to, just in case. So we were kind of loners, but it was fun.
Perfect. Well, and that brings up a different obstacle. Now would be a good time to be around family and potentially, talk to them about real estate and build up, the family's confidence in you. So just different obstacles right now. It's very frustrating. Jessica, how did your weekend go?
I made a pot pie, which we all are still hungover from. Well, I reached out to a couple of people on Thanksgiving, try to network there. As I spoke with you earlier, I connected with one of my hopefully clients soon that we're going to list his condo come December. He wants to do FSBO, but I'm trying to stay in the forefront and hopefully meet with him at the end of December to walk through his condo and kind of get that moving. And yesterday I actually took Nassim's advice and popped into an open house and did a walkthrough. It happened to be a Keller Williams Sunset Corridor agent who was in our office. It was his listing, and it turned out to be great. I got a video. I'm working on that to get that put on social media, and just that's all I have as far as. And I mailed out some postcards, and just continuing to do the daily grind, and hopefully things start working out.
She did 6 notes a day, right?
Yes. Yes.
Perfect.
Yep. And then I did reach out to some people last week. I talked to a lady, an expired listing in Banks in my area, and then did some cold calling for some nurturing care calls, and I mailed them my card and holiday card as well. I got that in the mail this past weekend. So
very cool. Tyler. Tyler. Okay. If you can't talk, if you would type it in the chat, that would be great.
Hey there. I think I'm experiencing some technical difficulties, but can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Yes.
Okay, awesome. So it's still slow going here because I'm still waiting on the background check to clear. Yep. I might need to follow up with a real estate agency about that. But despite that, what's that?
How long has that been now?
I think today is 5 weeks.
That should, definitely check back in with them.
Yeah, okay. I'll do that then. But despite that, I've been, keeping my friends up to date about what's been going on, and I've also been doing a little bit of research on the side about like lead generation and stuff like that. But obviously, I can't actually get started with that for now.
True. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Nassim. You're on mute.
See. Yeah. Let's see. Of course, it was a weekend where we spent most of the time, at the house, away from most other people, unlike most holiday weekends. So, with that being said, not a lot of new contacts. I did reach out to the top 7 producers in my market center about doing open houses for them once the freeze ends, which should be this week for us here locally. So I'm hoping to get some feedback on that and get myself in front of buyers that way. And then I working with a mortgage banker on co-branding 96 postcards for a local neighborhood farm. And that's about all. Oh, and I got one new referral partner, and that's about it.
Perfect. What's the referral partner?
It is Mastercraft, actually an old friend of mine who I've known for a couple decades now. They do general contract work and restoration and all that good stuff. And so I'm going to send stuff his way and vice versa.
Nice. Very cool. Cotty.
Yeah, so I got 15 new contacts this weekend. And this Facebook group that I started for PDX Adventure Moms, we're gonna do a hike this coming weekend. And so I'll get to meet quite a few families and get my name out there. I'm excited for that. And then my business cards should be here any day. So I'm going to start just going into local businesses and trying to make referral partners.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Sorry, my thing just moved around. Jeffrey.
Just contacting people on RedX and reaching out to my family and staying in touch with people on Facebook. No appointments, really.
Okay. How many
And-
contacts did you make?
Probably about 6.
Okay. Tori.
Find my mute button. Hi. So I have, I'm also in a mom's group, like Cotty. So I just kind of put my name out there because I did an Instagram post a few days ago, but I went back into my mom's group. There's about 70 of us here in Salem, and just put my name out there. So I've been gathering, I haven't put it all into Command yet, but I've been gathering their contact information. And then also been talking to family members. I have an appointment tomorrow with my dad, who's my first client, to buy a house. And my grandma, my mother-in-law, 2 sisters, and 2 friends. I've been talking to each of them to just kind of see where they're at with their plans, and hopefully kind of encourage them to kind of reconsider waiting as long as they're wanting to wait. Most of my family members want to buy or sell a home within the next like 3 to 5 years. And so, I'm just kind of following up with my PC coach about ways that I can kind of interact with them and encourage them to maybe pursue something sooner, just based on market trends and what it's like right now in the real estate game. So, yeah.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Have I missed anybody?
You didn't ask me.
Well, you're next.
Oh, okay.
How many contacts did you do this weekend?
This weekend, none, because I didn't work Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, between those 3 days, I had 47 contacts at 3 listing appointments and held 1 listing appointment.
Let's talk about your production on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday and Sunday. What do you feel you could have done better?
Oh, I don't know. I watched a lot of football and ate a lot of turkey, so I think I did pretty well.
Love it. Great job at the beginning of the week.
It was intentionality. I intentionally took that time off. I don't tend to work weekends really anymore. And so that obviously, and with the holiday and everything, I don't work usually past 5 or 6 on the weekdays.
And that's because do you have your own team?
I do. I have a team with 3 agents, operations manager, and an admin/runner.
Okay.
And me.
And you. Okay. He's the closer.
Me. I'm the listing. I take most of the lists. I do almost all the listings, if not all of them.
Okay.
The rest, they do buyers.
Well, I'm going to introduce you to Sean Keene.
Okay.
Sean he was born and raised in Salem. He obtained his real estate license in 2007 when he came out of law. 21 years of law
21 years
enforcement
in corrections. Yep.
and corrections, and pursue his passion to help other people's with their real estate needs. His background has provided him with the opportunity to work closely with a wide variety of people at various ages and cultures, and helped him in his real estate career. In 2016, his wife, Kim, who, let's face it, is really the telltale of whether or not he's a good salesman.
Yes.
She convinced her to marry him.
23 years. So
23 years. The Keene Real Estate, and they formed the Keene Real Estate Group, a team, and their business took off. So without further ado, here's Sean, and take it easy on him. He's here to educate.
a little more about me. My team this year, we're on pace. We'll do a little over 20 million with a little over 500,000 in GCI. I did get in real estate in 07, which, if anybody knows when the market tipped over and started to head downwards, it was February of 07. My license says February 7th of 07. So I had to learn how to sell real estate real quick. I do say that was a benefit to me, because there's a lot of agents that got their license in 05 and 06 who are not around anymore. They didn't have to learn how to sell real estate. You put a sign in the yard. I mean, kind of like now, you put a sign in the yard and wait for 15 offers to show up. But then when it came time where it was hard, a lot of them are gone. So I had to learn how to sell and market homes and how to become a salesperson and do it the right way. We average anywhere, we pretty steady between 50 or 60 homes a year. Next year, our goal is going to be 80. We've added some people. So we're going big next year and keep moving forward. I did spend 21 years in law enforcement corrections prior to doing this. The last 9 years, I was doing both. I worked full-time corrections and state penitentiary, and I also sold real estate full-time, averaging 15 to 20 houses a year during those 9 years. So it can be done. If anybody doing a part-time or full-time job, it can be done. You do work a few more hours than normal, but it can be done definitely, even in a down market. Any questions about that stuff? Otherwise, we can just get going. I don't know if you guys saw my note to Nassim. I hope I said that right. Here in the group chat. One of my biggest things I tell agents in my office is, don't go to somebody like a team like mine or one of the bigger teams in the office and say, can I hold an open house for you? My team's going to do all the good ones, and I'm going to give you what's left over. That's unfortunately the way life is sometimes. Go to your MLS, find a price point you want to be in, find a house you want to hold open, and then go find that agent and say, I want to hold that. Can I hold that house open for you? I'm going to be more receptive to that and let you do that house than I am if you just say, hey, do you have anything you can hold open? One of the things that in my office that drives me a little crazy is when they do it on Facebook. Anybody have an open house I can hold? No, go to the person, go talk to them. We're more receptive that way. And we'll give you better things to work with. Do we do phone calls or everything, or are we going just jumping right into this stuff?
You can do what I did on mine was I just had them reach out to 7 people and text whoever they want appointments with and start setting appointments.
I like that. Let's do that. You got 7 people. Let's how can we make this fun? Who here, actually there's quite a list. Chime in if somebody are you not from this area? You recently moved here? Oh, I see Amanda's hand up. Where are you from, Amanda?
From the Portland area. I just moved to Eugene.
Just moved to Eugene. All right. Do you know Portland? You know any Portland agents?
Yes.
Okay. I see a hand raised up there. Start making all your contacts of people you know in Portland, and let them know you're in real estate, and let them see if you can get referrals that you can give to this nice gentleman. I had in Bold one time. I had an agent that was on our team that he was debating whether he wanted to come to Keller Williams from another office. He had just graduated from Morgan State. He didn't know anybody really in the area. All his friends left because they were all going to school and went back home. He was from Santa Monica. And if anybody knows the price point in Santa Monica, a lot higher than this area. I hooked him up with an agent I know down there, and he had beginning of Bold, he had no business. By the end, he had 7 referrals out to her, and 3 of them were in escrow. So then he joined KW the next week.
Nice.
But
Yeah.
So if you're from a different area or you have a big database for the other, find an agent in that area and contact those people. Let them know, hey, there is I think it's in week 2 or class 2, there's a script for out of area. But even that, just say, hey, I've got my real estate license now. I'm just checking with people. I got an 8th grade agent I know up in your area. I was wondering if you know anybody that's looking to buy or sell, go through the whole spiel, buy or sell real estate, buy, sell, or invest in real estate. And then another great Ben Kinney, here we'll use the Ben Kinney script for everybody. That's what we'll do. All right, 2021 is quickly approaching. Here's the script to text to people. I am planning out my calendar for 2021, and I wanted to know if you had any real estate needs next year, so I can put you in my calendar. Actually, in the first part, I'm planning out my vacation and time off calendar, and then the rest. So I'm planning out my 2021 vacation and time off calendar for 2021. Do you have any real estate needs in the year 2021? So I'm in the area and I don't miss you. Everybody text 7 people that and see what we get. I'll keep total.
We shared again. People probably didn't get all of it. Share
Okay. One more time? Okay. I'm planning out my 2021 vacation and time off calendar. Do you have any real estate needs in 2021? So I don't, so I'm in town and don't miss you. I mean, you can go either kind of either way like that, but just basically, I'm planning 2021. I don't want to miss you. Do you have any real estate needs in 2021?
If he would tase me, he was also threatening Ainsley.
So, all right. Jessica, I like that. Yes, same thing. Call around. If you have some people that in an area, if you need an agent in an area, I can help you with that too. Or one of the instructors can, or PCs can help you find an agent in an area. Because you said you moved all over the place for the past 6 years. Just start reaching out to people and say, hey, I'm in real estate now. Same thing. They don't have to be in Eugene, in Portland, in Salem. They can be anywhere when you text them. Second greatest thing in real estate besides a commission check, referral check, because you didn't have to work for it. Somebody else did. So, okay. So text 7 people and see who gets a response. Once you're done sending your text, if you just put done in the chat box there so I know, and we can kind of start. How we doing? I got one done. Anybody else? Everybody else done? Two done, three done. There we go. Four. I like it. Any more? Any more? Peeler? Peeler? Nice. All right, let's see. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, we got a bunch of people done. We'll go ahead and keep moving forward. If anybody have any luck? Anybody get any responses right away? No? All right. If you do throughout this thing, go ahead and chime in down in the chat group and let us know. All right, cool. All right, page 11. That's where we're going to start out at. Getting your head in the game. I may, just so you know, I will call on people by name. Just I'm going to warn you ahead of time. So get your head in the game. Just page 11. our goal, this whole thing is about close the deal. So we want to get this thing done quickly as possible and as smoothly as possible. The smoother the transaction, the more transactions we can do, and that's the goal here. If it's for successful transaction to close the process, the transaction closes on time as expected. The process is smooth and painless for all parties involved, and you win future business due to your 10++ customer experience. All right. That is one of the things my team and we pride ourselves on is most of our business comes repeat clients or referrals from other agents or past clients because we try to go over the top. I can count on 0 fingers the amount of money I've given Zillow or any of those kind of places. I spend probably the same amount of money every month as agents that do, but I put back towards my clients. I send birthday gifts, I send cards, I buy their kids stuff. We do the pie thing. What section? I'm on page 11 of Get Your Head in the Game. The very first. So that to us is part of the 10++ customer service. We want to be top of mind. I mean, you guys in lesson 2 of this, you guys talked about that top of mind and things like that, and things like, we all know what Kleenex brand, right? Well, Kleenex is what a Kleenex is. Well, that's a brand. We all know that, but it actually is a tissue. So we want to be top of mind like that. Well, you say potato chips, everybody says Lay's as the number 1. So that is where we all want to get, and that's the 10+ customer service will get you there. On the discussion below this, how will we ensure these 3 outcomes? Any ideas from anybody? Because we got to close the transaction time as expected. The process is smooth and painless for all parties involved. You win future business due to your customer experience. Any ideas?
Communication.
Communication, yep. Communication is key. You'll hear this a lot in real estate. The agent just disappeared on us. We don't know, especially like listings. Agent throws a sign in the yard and they hear from them maybe once or twice in a 3 to 6 month period. And so communication is key. We have set up in our system to where I call every week and my operation manager calls every other week until we're under contract. Once we're under contract, if it's a listing, I call every week and she calls every week. And if it's a buyer, one of my buyer's agents calls every week and she calls every week just to check in. Even if there's nothing really to just say, hey, how you doing? How you feeling about this whole thing kind of idea. Even if it's just that, they feel more comfortable and you're doing about 90% more than most agents. Stay in communication. And don't be afraid to give them bad news. I see that a lot of time within the communication world is agents are afraid to tell them bad news. Just do it and get it over with. They'd rather hear it from you than, hear it from the lender. And the lender said, well, the agent knew last week. Tell them right away so you can get out in front of it. I mean, most things are fixable. There's very few things in real estate that come up that are bad things that we can't fix as long as we're communicating. And not just with your client, with the other agent, with title, with the lender. You should all be on the same page in all communication. And when it comes down to it, we have a buyer that wants to buy a house, a seller that wants to sell a house, and we've matched them, right? Don't get in the way. Don't be the problem. They want to buy, they want to sell to each other. Too many times we see agents getting in the middle of that. That's our job, is to process the paperwork, make sure everything's being done legal, and make sure everything's being done fair. It's not to be a party of the transaction. So don't insert yourself into a transaction. What else? Anything else? What else? There's just a bunch of things we could do for this.
Getting back with them with important information right away.
Yep. This goes along with communication, just being right on top of it, letting them know. I mean, we have business hours in my office. None of my agents and none of us work after 8 p.m. or before 8 a.m. So we tell our clients right away when we first sit down with them, these are our business hours. We don't work past 8. We don't work before 8. Most of the time they say that's fair enough. And so, but if something comes in at 9 o'clock, we're not going to call them at 9 o'clock at night. We're going to wait until the next morning. Beyond that, let them know right away. I mean, especially if it's something that's they're going to find out about and you need to explain it to them, be the one to explain it to them, not them find out about it, then you have to explain it to them. that make sense?
So set expectations early.
Very much so. People will follow. Just set the expectation. This is how I do business. This is, and even if you want to do it short, the only reason we go till 8 o'clock is because my past clientele, I do a lot of corrections and a lot of them work till 6 p.m. So that's the only reason we go until 8. Otherwise, I'd probably cut it off around 6:30 or 7 p.m. You're allowed to have a life as a real estate agent too, outside real estate. Doesn't feel like it always, but you're allowed to. Be organized, have systems, have checklists. I know I've sent Mara our checklist forms before. If she doesn't have them, I will resend them to her. Everything that we do and everything in our system, to paperwork wise and deal wise, we have a checklist for. And that all goes back to when I was working full time. I needed a way to make it simple, fast, and easy so I would not get lost and would forget things. So I will make sure Mara has that if you guys want to check them out and send them out. If not, we'll resend them to her. And every time you communicate with them, tell them the next step. If you simply say, hey, this is what's going to happen next, they're fine. They'll be okay. They won't call and keep bugging you. If you don't tell them what to happen next, they're going to keep bugging you, and you're going to spend more time dealing with that client than if you just say, hey, you know what? Inspection's in, everything's great. We're just waiting on the appraisal, and the appraisal is supposed to be back by this date, which the lender will tell you. And they're not going to bug you about the appraisal until that date. But if you don't tell them that ahead of time, they're going to keep bugging you. And unfortunately, bugging is bad, probably bad, not the best word, but it's taking you away from money producing activity. Yeah, that's a part of the job and that's part of what you need to do. But if you're not communicating with them and letting them know ahead of time, you're going to be getting in the way of the lead generation, all this great stuff you're learning at Ignite. Communicate, communicate, communicate. Work cooperatively with the other agents, like we talked about it a little bit earlier. So yeah, I mean, they're looking out for their client's best interest. You're looking out for your client's best interest. We both want to sell the house. We all have mortgages to pay, and my mortgage company doesn't have a sense of humor, so I got to get that check in eventually. So just cooperate, communicate with them. There are times you're going to feel like you're dragging them along with you to get to the end. That happens sometimes. There's times when you're going to feel like it's so smooth and so easy because they're the ones dragging you and you don't realize it, but it happens. So just work cooperatively, help each other out. We're all in this together. NAR Code of Ethics says we're all supposed to cooperate with each other. When do you think clients are the happiest?
When they get the keys and their check.
Yeah, closing table. Because that's usually, because sometimes, it all depends how life works. Sometimes you're not always there for keys. Sometimes something's happened, something's going on. But we're usually always around at closing time, at closing table, because we want to make sure it gets done right. Right now with COVID, it makes it a little harder. I mean, all of our local title companies, we can't show up to closings right now here in Salem. So as agents, which I always show up to all my closings. But that's the best time to ask for things like reviews, testimonials, things like that, because they're really, really happy right then. So that's a way to get the future business, the 10 plus. Hmm? Yeah, it says we talked about it earlier. Leave a lasting impression. Be on top of your game. Jump to immediately to fix anything that's gone awry. Anything else anybody thinks would help with these three things? The come from contribution mindset is usually the best. Says, I can never remember the acronym up on our wall, the Y4C2, all that good stuff. But yeah, as long as you're coming with a mindset of what's going to be best for my client, may not always best for you, but that, like I said, we're not a part of the transaction. What's always best for my clients? They'll feel that, they know that, they see that. So we're always doing what's best for them. And as long as you're doing that, you won't go wrong. Do we have to go over the funnel? You guys seen the funnel for 10 classes now. We can go over the funnel if you want. Anybody want to go over the funnel? All right. I should have warned you that. I think I said it earlier. I'm like a hyperactive squirrel. So if I get going too fast, normally in class, I tell you to throw things at me, but here, just shout at me if I get going too fast or start talking too much. I will go on tangents now and then and talk about things that do not relate to this training, but I think relate to real estate. So yeah, there we go. Page 13. make it happen. Know the process, the systems equal success, seize the golden opportunity, get paid. Know the process. Sit down. If you haven't, I don't know what they're doing right now, Ignite is, but every agent that joins my team, they go and we sit down with our escrow person, they do, and they sit down with our lenders that we use. And they tell them exactly what the process is on their end. If you haven't gone, if you don't have a lender, if you don't have a title person that you want to use or you've met with, go meet one and go to their office, sit down and say, what do you need from me? Find out how the process works. I mean, I'm assuming everybody on here is new, or at least new to KW, but new to real estate for most of you. Probably have an idea how this all works and have read about how it all works and maybe have done 1 or 2 deals. But if you haven't, go sit down and talk to a lender or title. They will teach you the back end of everything you need to know. That's the first thing my wife got her license for almost 5 years ago now. I went and sat down with her at our lender and our title, and I said, explain it to her, because they can explain their better than I can. I can most certainly explain the real estate side of it, but I can give you a big idea of the lending and the title side because I don't have to know that part for the insides and outs. I just need to know the basics. Go learn the basics from them. They'll teach you. Other agent, let's see, knowing the process, what the other agent's role is in a deal, what, lending officer, closing, where they're getting their funds from. Just know the process and how it all works. If you put in an offer and you pay attention to the MLS instructions, because there's going to be instructions. Almost every agent puts instructions on how they want to receive the offer there. It amazes me how many times we get offers, and it says clearly in the MLS what we want with our offers, especially right now. We want the code form, we want the FERPTA form. We have a form that says this is the things we want with every offer, and we hardly ever get it all, if sometimes any of it, except just an offer and a letter. So read the instructions. It will make things smoother to start your transaction. Have any of you guys, well, it's a little hard right now, but have any of you sat down with like your MCA to learn the process of what they do? Of how you get, the MCA is your favorite person in the office. Team leaders may argue, PCs may argue, MCA should be your favoriteest person in the whole office. They write the checks. They're the ones that make sure you get paid when the deal closes. They're the ones. So make sure you find out how they want things done. Talk to your PBE. Make sure that you find out how they like things done. It's pretty with .loop and Command now. It's pretty easy because we can see exactly what forms need to be in and where. But especially with the MCA, how do you want us to do things? Get on, meet them, talk to them, buy them flowers, buy them cookies. Like I said, MCA is the most important. And to me, is the most important one because they're the accountant of the office and the keeper of the checks. Tori, yeah, I'll see if Mara has a checklist, and if not, I will give them to her again to send out to everybody. That's your note there. Page 14, contract to close. This is kind of who here's closed a deal? Anybody here close a deal? Sometimes we have some, sometimes we haven't. I see a bunch of shaking nose. So page 14, that's important then if you haven't closed the deal yet. Like I said, sometimes we get a mixture. Some of this stuff in this booklet is, obviously we all know Keller Williams out of Austin. So some of this information is based out of Texas. So there's some things we don't have that they have on here. I'm sure you run into, they're going to tell you to call withdrawal listings. Don't call withdrawal listings in Oregon. That'll get your license pulled. Withdrawal listings you can't call here. Texas you can. So just a basic, I mean, we all know offer. Anytime you get any kind of paperwork from another agent, you have 1 of 3 options here. Accept, reject, or counter. And that's what I tell my clients too. Exact same thing. We get an offer and you got here's your 3 choices. Same thing with inspection. You can accept, reject, or counter. It's not much more difficult than that. It's pretty simple when it comes to that. You get everything to title, you give them your closing disclosures and escrow instructions and all that goes there, and the closing and funding, and we'll go over more of that here as we go on here, but that's kind of the gist right there. Page 15. Like I said, anybody got any questions, let me know. So I'm supposed to go step by step through this process here on page 15. So we get the offer. Offer comes in. We do the 1 of 3 things, or they do. So you submit an offer. I'll go this way. buyer submits offer, buyer's agent to the list selling agent. I get the offer. I'm gonna take it to my client. I'm gonna say, okay, here's the offer. Boom. You get one of three choices. You can accept, reject, or counter. I'm gonna give my opinion on the offer and what I think the offer. And then, like before, I'm not a part of the transaction, so they get to make that decision. You'll have clients that want you to make the decision for them. What should I do here? What should I do there? You can give them advice, but it's not your place to tell them what to do, because then you become a party to the transaction. We don't want that. Educate them. Let them know. Inspection. Once we come to agreement, we have the inspection. One of the things I do always as a listing agent, before I let my clients respond to an inspection, repair addendum, we have a contractor go out and look at all the repairs that are requested and see what that. I have a contractor that I use that does it for free. He goes out and checks them out. I tell my clients, I want to make an educated decision with you guys, and we don't know how much, because majority of the time the repairs cost less than most people think, unless it's something major that pops up. So we have the inspection. We get repair. You guys send me back your repair addendum. My clients are either going to accept, reject, or counter it. In the state of Oregon, how many times can you counter a repair addendum? Anyone? Anyone?
I think as much as you can.
Yep, you can. That changed 2 years ago. It used to be, you send me a repair addendum, I send you a response back, and that's it. You either accept that or we move on to another deal. So they changed it about, I think it was 2 years ago, they changed it to where we can counter just back and forth, just like we can counter offers. So.
And do you let the buyer's agent know that?
Yeah, well, they should, I mean, they should know. But yeah, I mean, it's, you submit it to them. There's some old guard and some that at times they've like, not so much anymore because we're a couple of years into it, but when it first happened, I would get responses back with like, well, we don't want to do this stuff. We're going to blow up this deal. I'm like, you know, we can go back and forth now. One of the things we asked for that they have not done yet is just like a number up next to the repair addendum. So a blank space, so you can put repair addendum 1, repair addendum 2, repair addendum 3, just like an addendum, so that we could keep track of them better. And the state hasn't, ORF hasn't come around to that yet, but we keep asking every year. So you come to the inspection, we come to agreement, we go to title. During this whole process, we've submitted everything to title, and title's going to clear title. They're going to make sure the seller can legally sell this house, which means they're going to do history checks on the deed, and they're going to make sure that the title, we call it clear title, which is to where they can legally sell this house to somebody else. There may be conditions, which would be a mortgage. There may be liens, there may be tax liens, there may be mechanical liens, there may be contract liens, there may be other things involved, but legally they can sell the house. So that's what they make sure of. Same time when the deal got a contract, everything went off to the underwriter or to the lender, who then he does his thing and goes to the underwriter and makes sure that this buyer qualifies for this house and that their loan's good, and they do all the, you know, they go through and they check all their credit and they go through their work history and they start checking the numbers and make sure all the numbers work right. So I recently had one that, I've been doing this 15 years and it was a first. They had a listing where we had a contingent buyer on our listing, and they had a contingent offer on a house, their house in Maryland that they're selling. Come to find out that the buyer of that house had forged all his tax documents and was caught by the IRS, and he was employing non-documented people, which he most certainly could have, but he wasn't claiming their pay, but he was claiming their income that they were making for the company. And so that's big red flags, and he's being investigated by several federal agencies now, and he can no longer buy that house. So our whole deal fell apart. So there are things outside your control that show up. Escrow instructions, basically the escrow instructions are just saying, this is how we want to get, this is what we should be, think we should be getting paid. And that goes to title. You send one in, I send one in, and then the escrow looks to make sure they match and they're right. Because the escrow is a third party. They are not on our side, they're not on the seller's side, they're not on the buyer's side, they're on nobody's side. They're just a third party that they make sure all the numbers match and everybody's legal. That's their role. They will not give advice. They will not do anything because they are a third party. So they make sure all these numbers match and are right. Closing disclosures, they'll send those out. Lender will 2 days before signing, and your job is to check all the numbers. It'll be 1 to 2 pages, and it'll be all the numbers you negotiated in the deal. And you need to make sure you check that to make sure it's right. They're going to go over it. Seller's going to, or my seller's going to get one, your buyer's going to get one, but you need to make sure that the numbers match to what you think. Because there are mistakes sometimes, not all the time, not very often it has happened, but there are mistakes. You need to make sure. Sometimes it's you forgot to send an invoice in, or buyer's agent forgot to send something in, or their numbers are just off. It happens. So you need to make sure to check them. That's part of your fiduciary duty, is to make sure your client's protected. Because a lot of times they don't read it. They just sign. You'll find that out. A lot of people don't read the documents. Closing, they meet to sign. I think we all know what that is. And then most time we sign escrow and we close on, say, a Tuesday, but we don't really close and everything until Wednesday, because they got to fund the deal. They got to record it with the county. So it usually takes another day. So make sure you prepare your client. That's part of the communication ahead of time. Yeah, the close day on the document says Tuesday the 2nd or whatever it is, but really that's when we all need to sign by, and then they'll get the keys the next day whenever we sign. All right, does it make sense? All right. I used to do this. I used to have class participation. It was a little weird. Page 17, systems equal success. We'll send out that checklist. I'll have Mara do it, or well, like I said that before, but come up with a checklist to where you can keep track of what you need and what you don't have, even if it's in Command, or if it's in a CRM you're using, or if it's on a checklist. For the first 2 years, I ran my business on an Excel spreadsheet. So, I mean, it doesn't take a lot to start. It got big enough to where we had to go to a true CRM, so we use one of those, but come up with a way so that you can follow, especially when being newer. I mean, even now I still have to do it because I forget things and multiple things going on at once. And but if you come up, to me, my mind, it says here, come up with a checklist to where you got it, yep, got it, and just kind of go down the line. We talked about understanding and using them. Here's suggestions. Page 18, 19, 20, 21 are all. Let's see. No, wait, sorry. 17, 18, and 19 are checklist suggestions from Keller Williams. So if you want to, like I said, once you see the ones we send out, if you want to make your own and just kind of go from there, and things that you want, because I know like in my CRM, we have full checklists of everything, and there's going to be stuff on there that you guys would care less about because it means something to our team. So come up with your system, how you work and how you feel like comfortable. One of the things, so when you hear all sorts of things about closing presents and things like that. We don't really do anything like that because we give through the entire year. Here's a little tip and a little good one that we've really had a lot of feedback on. We get people about a week after we close on a transaction, they get in the mail, they get a return address stamp. Just one of those little stamps that with their return address on it. Everybody does. All of our buyers, anybody that buys any of our listings, they get one. And I get calls and emails all the time. It costs me $7.99 plus 2 stamps to mail that to them. And I get comments all the time on that thing that people always had wanted one, but they'd never buy one for themselves. And it's just, to me, it's one of the dumbest little things in the world, but people love it. So, and it's just a little stamp. So, page 20. Says we're supposed to work in pairs. That's kind of hard when we're all not near each other. Solutions, okay. Contract to close issues, inspections and repairs. How things go wrong. Surprise findings. How often do inspectors find things that sellers truly don't know about? Do you think?
Not very often.
Not very often. Usually the 2 places they find things that sellers don't know about is in the attic or underneath. Because a lot of people don't go there. A lot of people don't go under their house. I mean, I don't go under my house. I haven't been under my house in years. I don't know what's going on down there. Been in the attic recently though. But so those everywhere else, I mean, we all know what's wrong with our houses. Even if we have rental houses, we know the issues our houses have. and where they need fixed that we just like, I can live with it, or I'll fix it later, or it doesn't need, sellers know that too. So it says to avoid surprises. There's usually not a lot of surprises. Every once in a while, like I said, usually the two places are in the attic or under the house. The surprises pop up. Report as complex or confusing. How do we fix that for buyers? How do we not fix it? How do we make that easier for buyers?
Provide a summary.
Provide a summary. Attend the inspection with your buyer. Some agents don't. Some agents just set up their inspector and they don't show up, or they're not supposed to, but they'll open the door and leave. I hear that a lot from my inspector, that people do that. Don't do that. Don't ever do that. Because you're taking the liability of that inspector being alone in that house, no matter how well you know them. But attend the inspection to clients. The inspector will explain a lot of it to them. One of the things I do at the end of an inspection, because an inspector is going to sit there for 2 and 3 hours and just tear apart that house. He's going to tell them everything wrong with that house, whether it be, minor things or major things. He's going to tell them all. And a lot of times they feel a little bad about the house afterwards. One of the things I ask the inspector every time is, at the end, what'd you think of the house? And I know when it's a good inspection. I know when it's a bad inspection. Just and a lot of time when I ask them that, it's always, oh, the house is real good. Yeah, this is a good house for this age, or this is a great house. These are just minor stuff. And it kind of calms the buyer down, because especially if they're a first-time home buyer, an average inspection report is going to be 36 pages long. If you give that to a home buyer and say, here, tell me what you want fixed, you think especially if they're a first-time home buyer, you think they're going to be a little overwhelmed and unsure. But if you've been there at the inspection with them and you're talking through these items with the inspector as you go, it just makes it so much easier.
Real quick, did you mention the buyer to attend with the inspector or the buyer's agent?
Both. If you're the buyer's agent, you and the buyer should be at the inspection.
Okay.
There's other people that feel other ways. I feel this way. I feel that's one of the things they're paying us. We're getting paid for, to be there at the inspection. That's our job. We're the expert. We know little things. Like when you're showing how, I want to go on my tangents. Like when you're showing houses, you were supposed to be the expert. You start to learn things. You start to learn like, hey, that's an old 3-tab roof. They haven't done 3-tab roofs in about 14, 15 years. So that roof's probably 14, 15 years old. Or that's an architectural roof. They did those 14, 15 years old. You start learning those things. Hey, that's a green furnace. They haven't done those since the 70s. I guess this furnace is old. Will the buyer know that? Yes, maybe no, maybe not, but that's your job to know those things. I don't go in looking at counters, at cabinets. I go looking at foundation and cracks and things like that they're not looking at. They're looking at colors and fridges and appliances and, wow, will my bed fit in this bedroom? That kind of stuff. All that, our job as the expert is to look at the other stuff. It's a parlor trick. You go into the garage and the hot water heater looks fairly new. Run your finger across the top of it. How dusty is it? Do it in front of the client. Oh, it's not very dusty, so it hasn't been here too long, because most people don't dust their hot water heaters. It's just little things like that to give them confidence. You know the difference between a foundation crack that's good and bad. Concrete cracks. Concrete's a moving, living thing that cracks because over time. But as long as the crack is not longer than an inch or not separated like this way, it's just a foundation crack. That happens. Now, if you see a big crack like that's, offset like this, or it's running like the entire length of the foundation and it's this thick, the wide the crack is, okay, that's an issue. But you got to be able to explain these things to them because they're not looking for that stuff, most buyers. That make sense? Right? Okay.
I have a question.
Yep. Who's it? Tori? Is that correct?
Tori.
Okay.
So,
yep.
With COVID-19 and some people being uncomfortable with, being out in public spaces and stuff like that. Obviously, when you're going into someone else's home, there's not tons of other people there, but it is someone else's space. How this has shifted to being like virtual, or is this all still in person meeting people things?
I have not had a problem yet or pushback on any of that when it comes to like the home inspections, because you're basically going to have agent, buyer, and inspector there. Well, agent and buyer have already probably been there in the house. So you're adding an inspector. You have to have you're not required to have inspection in the state of Oregon, but it is your right as a buyer to have one. So I have yet to have pushback. We just make sure everybody's, shoes off or booties or wearing masks. And one of the things we put on all of our listings right now, and we tell our sellers, before you leave the house, open all the doors, even closet doors, everything. And we'll put a note in the listing saying, you know, the doors will be left open. Don't touch door handles. And so, I mean, you try to take care of the little things to make them feel comfortable. Still, unfortunately, we still got to do business as usual, and people still want to buy and sell houses. So we got to work around that. But if you just take the little steps, and from my experience has been since March, is as long as you're trying and you're telling them you're trying, showing them that you're trying, everybody's fine with it. You just got to make sure you use the precautions: masks on, gloves on. If you need gloves, shoes on and off. I had to, in March, our first week before this whole lockdown, I signed a contract to list a house down the street from mine. The couple, they're both 80. And then the next week, before we could get on the market, COVID, lockdown hit. So I went down and met with them again. And I said, here's the deal. I'm going to do everything I can to protect you. But if you guys want to wait, I completely understand. We'll tear up this contract and we'll go from there. But there's only so much I can do to protect you too. And she looked at me and she goes, I'm 80 years old. I'm going to die of something someday. I need to sell my house. And I'm like, all right, we'll do what we can. So, I mean, you're going to run into different types. Sorry. There's a long answer. Does that answer it? There was a long answer for a short question.
No, that was great. I appreciate it. Thank you. And
Okay.
It's personalized really and what everyone's comfortable with, but that you haven't had pushback is also good. Because that's really kind of what sets this job apart, is being able to touch and feel and see in different aspects. And
especially right now, people have some level of expectation if they're going to be listing their house during this time.
Right.
You can't expect somebody to list their house now and say nobody can come in, nobody can touch anything. Okay, as an agent, you should be putting that house on the market. They're just because you ain't going to sell it. So I mean, we have with like investment, I deal with a lot of investors, and so sell a lot of plexes, and we do walkthroughs only upon accepted offer on investment properties a lot, because we don't want to disturb the tenants without having an accepted offer. And I've seen that a few times with COVID on just regular, residential sales. So you might see some of that, but beyond that, I mean, we're all in the same boat. We're all trying to stay safe together. So that's kind of what we're doing. Under repairs and inspections, solutions, timetable for repairs. How long do we have to get repairs done? Is there a set time, or do we manufacture that time?
Usually there's a set time within.
I think it's 10 days, right? Or you can make it less.
Well, 10 days for the inspection period, but what about repairs? How long do they have for repairs? Do we have a set time, or is that a time we negotiate and manufacture?
Negotiate?
Negotiated.
Yep, it's in the repair addendum. You set that date and timeline.
What is your max? What's your max?
I usually put it at the max. I'll do a week before close. It depends how big the repairs are. I mean, we just got one the other day that was fix a leak under the house. What was it? It was 3 things, and they were all simple. And so, we had a week to get it done. Okay, no problem. If it's major, I'll give them up to a week. That's just close, because I want time to reinspect, especially if it's something major. I want to be able to reinspect and have a look at that. And you need to really make sure you follow your timelines and watch them if you want to do a reinspection. Because according to the contract, if you don't change it, you have 2 days after notification that all the repairs are done to have a reinspection. And I'll tell you right now, if we get to the 3rd day, you're stuck with my repairs. I'm not going to give you any more room. So make sure you pay attention to that timeline.
And the other option, if the seller doesn't want to repair and the buyer's agent gets quotes, they could just take that off of the price of the home, right?
I mean, this is real estate. Everything is negotiable. This is real estate. We can negotiate everything. The only thing you got to watch out for is if you run into repairs that we know as lender required. Like a lender's going to say that needs to be fixed. I mean, some of the basic ones are like hot water heater straps, things like that, dry rot, around a door frame. These are all these little things we run into and see. Beyond that, yeah, you can negotiate out in price, which we do all the time. We have an agent in our office. I don't think she does mostly listings, and I don't think her listing clients ever do repairs, because she will negotiate it out instead. She'll come down in price. And so we try to get the repairs done. I mean, I just think that's the right way to do it. But so there's different ways of doing it. Doubt about the inspection repairs. Number 5, doubt about worthiness. You know, after they've had this inspection, they're like, wow, is this house really worth what it is? Once again, you're the expert. You need to explain to them yay or nay. Sometimes no. There's been several times when we get the inspection done and we're like, no, there is no way this house is worth this. My bad, I missed this, and this when we walked through it, kind of idea. But so, that comes up once in a while, not so often, especially right now around this market. Everybody's taking what they can. Appraisals won't support price. We're running into that a lot right now. I just had an inspection or appraisal come in $8,000 under on one of my listings. So it's just happening because people are bidding everybody up to try to get houses right now. And so appraisers don't care about all that. I mean, if you talk to them, you may be able to negotiate a little with them and get them to, see your way, but they really don't care about that. That's one problem with appraisers. They're third party and they have no oversight. So like I can push the lender, I can push title, I can push all sorts of other people. Appraiser, yeah, it is what it is. You get their best shot and that's it. Especially to start with, once you guys are all learning, where it says support the loan, find additional buyer funds or funding to provide seller finance options. You shouldn't be out showing houses. So say they're FHA approved. Make sure you're showing them houses that agents say will go FHA approved loans. And because there's different statuses like that. Conventional loan, they pretty much, as long as there's a roof and there's a foundation, the lender could care less because there's enough down. FHA loan, which is 3.5% down, the appraiser is going to be pickier about repairs that need to be made because buyers only put down 3.5%. So they have to protect the bank if they, for some reason, have to foreclose. Same thing with a VA loan. You put 0 down. Appraisers are very picky because basically the buyer's got no skin in the game. The VA has all the skin in the game. So they're going to be very picky on what they want done and fixed. So you got to kind of make sure you're judging these and start to learn the loan product because you don't want to be out showing a VA buyer a house that will barely go conventional, maybe a cash house, because you're just wasting their time and your time, getting their hopes up. So that's part of the learning the loan products too as you go. The last 3 doesn't match the CMA appeal. So you've come up with the CMA, you feel like this is what the house is worth. Appraiser comes up with a different number. You can't appeal an appraisal. I don't think I've ever seen one that won. I know they take 3 to 6 months usually. Most times it's easier to negotiate the price down to whatever the appraisal came up with. Because buyer and seller, buyer wants to buy, seller wants to sell. Help them get there. This is really dry. Anybody got any questions? Anybody? We're almost done with this section. Loan approval and funding. I mean, applications like don't take anybody out that's not approved. And if they want to, you'll get pushback actually from buyers, which surprises me on this one quite a bit. Oh, that's all right. I just want to go look. No, I'm not going to waste your time, my time. And the way I put it is, I would hate to find you a house that you fall in love with and then find out the house doesn't qualify for the loan that you're qualified for, or you don't qualify for the amount the house is. I've never got pushback from that on people that said no. So just, yeah, don't take them out. Because I mean, they're gonna, I mean, even the next, if you've already got them pre-approved before you take them out, these next 4 items on this list right here, you don't even have to worry about because they're already pre-approved from the lender. Sorry. If they say they're pre-approved, one of the first things you should do is talk to the lender. Who's your lender? I'd like to give them a call. And that's also, this day and age, that's a safety precaution too. If you're a little sketchy about them and you're not sure about them, call the lender. Lender's like, no, I don't know who this is. Or, they gave it, so never talk to that person. Okay, that's a red flag. Maybe I shouldn't go somewhere with this person. Kind of idea. If you have never met them before, meet them in your office. Sit down and have a talk with them. You're going to get a lot less people, right now it's a little harder, but in general, you're going to get a lot less people that flake on you and look at a couple houses, all of a sudden they're gone. You find out they bought another house. If you sit down and have a conversation with them before you even take them out and look at houses, sit down and have a buyer consultation, just like a listing appointment. Sit down and talk with them. Find out what they need. Find out what they want. See if they're approved. Talk about their lender. See where they want to stay. Lender may say, hey, you're qualified for $450,000. One of my questions always is, yeah, but how much do you want to spend? They may not want to spend 450. They may want to spend, 380, 320. They don't want to go over. So sit down and have that conversation with them. It builds the rapport, like I said, because buyers, it's a very negative phrase, but it's true. Buyers are liars. They just want to see a house. They'll try to convince you anyway to go see a house. Well, if they don't qualify for that house, or they don't qualify at all, or it's a safety concern, don't. Real estate, I have above my computer in my office. I'm in the conference room right now at the office, but I have right above my office. It's a Zig Ziglar line. It says, some will, some won't. Who cares next? And I look at that when I'm making my phone calls, because a lot of times, some won't, some will, some won't, but who cares? Next one. I mean, you just got to kind of don't put yourself or your business at risk for one deal, whether it becomes safety, whether it becomes your reputation, anything like that. Real estate is a reputation business. Do not risk your reputation over a deal. One of the things I talk about around here is, and I've talked about in other offices, I've been to multiple KW offices. I was in Portland. I was at Portland Premier before I was down here. And you see the agents that have commission breath. They may need that commission to pay their mortgage or pay their car bill or whatever. I mean, I've been there. I was new one time, and it's tough to get through it. But don't risk your business and your reputation over a deal. There you go. That's how I can put it. Third-party approval, credit changes. I mean, credit changes, go back to my guy that falsified his tax documents. Things pop up. You just can't control. Buyer doesn't have full down payment. Okay, the price adjusts, something happens, their car died, they had to use some money, and all of a sudden they don't have enough for a down payment. That happens. It happens more than you think. People are scraping by to have enough just to put a down payment down. Can it be a gift? Yep, from a friend or a family. The only thing is they have to write a gift letter, and then whoever they got it from has to prove they've had it for 60 days, the money. So like Joe Schmo friend can't say, hey, here's an extra $2,000 cash you needed. It's got to come from a banking institution, and they've got to prove that it's been seasoned for 60 days in their account, not necessarily the borrower's account, but from the original account. And that goes back to bank fraud and all that kind of money laundering and all that great stuff. So here's a fun question. Can a buyer bring cash to the closing table? Show up with a suitcase of cash. I want to buy a house.
Not a wise idea, but sure.
Yep, they can. Title will get so mad at you because they have to sit there and count it. But they can. I had a client try to one time, and they convinced him to go get a cashier's check. He showed up with a bag, with paper bag, $180,000. He was a little eccentric, to say the least. But yeah, you technically can bring cash to the title. Like I said, your title rep or whoever's doing the closing will be so mad at you because they have to count every single dollar. Other contingencies, backup offers, home. Right now we're seeing a lot of contingencies on the seller or the buyer selling their home. That's just pretty common right now. Clouded title, it says down here, number 4 of the contingencies. That goes back to what I talked about a little earlier, when the title runs the title to check to see if they can sell it, and if there's no major liens, or there may be liens. That we almost all have liens on our property. We have mortgages. If you've paid off your house, you may not have any, but if you have a title or a mortgage on your property, you have a lien technically. So that clouds on the title may come up. It says other agent here for bad advice or communication. I'm going to say bad advice from family members, especially if they're young. Mom, dad, grandpa, grandma, cousin, aunt, uncle, everybody's got advice about buying houses. They may all be living in an apartment complex together and never owned a house, but they got advice. And so you're going to run into that where like, hey, my grandma said when she bought a house in 1940, this is how it worked. Well, you know, things change. 1940, they didn't really even have mortgages. What mortgages is a new thing. Mortgages started in the 50s for the most part. There were some, but mass mortgages didn't start until the 50s after the war, World War II. People just paid cash for houses, or they bought it for, or they paid the seller monthly payments. So that's why when you see mortgage data, there's not a ton of it, like year over year, wait, like into the, it won't go that back into the 30s and 20s and things like that. Poor vendor selection. You know, you have a listing and the buyer's agent brings in an appraiser or a inspector, and just like real estate, just like any other job, there are bad inspectors out there. They're just not very good at their jobs. Just like my dad always said, 50% of doctors graduate in the bottom half of their class. So, I mean, it's just how it is. So you will run into that where you're like, you'll see an appraiser. I've had inspection reports that I've sent my contractor and he can't find half the things that they called out, that they're just not there. So you kind of have to deal with that when that shows up. Inspections, closing date, occupancy. Yeah, make sure you follow, the occupancy and you got all figured out and squared away. For the most part, most people are flexible unless they have other closings, and that's a whole different class down the road about how to line all that up. Page 22 kind of talks about that. Important dates to remember for copy of the contract. In the state of Oregon, when anybody signs a contract, you are required to give them a copy of that contract, of everything they sign. So make sure, technically you're supposed to give it to them after they sign it, like right there, which is not feasible most of the time because most of us aren't with them. We're doing DocuSign, or we have to get the other parties to sign or whatever. So once you have everything signed, send a copy to your client. That's, like I said, that's contract law. You're required to in real estate. Any questions? On to 23. Like I said, I go fast. If you guys have other questions, we'll go really fast. Okay, page 23, dates for buyers. The effective date, which in the state of Oregon, that is basically the contract date when we get under contract. Inspection deadline, we've already kind of talked to that. Inspection response, minimum 10 business days. One of the buyers on my team does a lot of horse and ranch. So that's what me and Matt were talking about, was the acreage ranch property. So usually we get 15 days. We'll do 15 days on those because we have wells and septics and outbuildings and a bunch of other stuff we got to do. So we'll do 15 days. Termite inspections in the state of Oregon, we don't have a lot of termites because we get too cold in the winter. So termite damage is caused over years and years of termites being there. We get too cold in the winter, they die off. So you'll run into termite damage in Oregon. It's not as prevalent. Most inspectors check for it. Most inspectors will tell you, yeah, I saw damage, you need to have it looked at. So loan application deadline, you need to know about that. Loan commitment date, that's the date that's supposed to all start. Escrow dates, closing dates. So those are all things you need to make sure you pay attention and you keep online, whether it's in a checklist in a file, on your board. We have a whiteboard that we write all this on in our office for every deal, so we can look up and see when's the next date for whichever deal. So those are all important to track and know. That's your job. And it will slow down your buyers some and sellers some too. If they're getting all, hey, what's going on? Why isn't we hearing nothing? Well, the inspection date ends on this date. Oh, once again, that's getting out in front of it, like we talked about earlier. If you're telling them that up front, they know that. Seize the golden opportunity, page 24. Remember, you only have one chance to leave a lasting impression. For the longest time, my email signature said, people don't know how much you care until you show them how much you care. How do you leave a good impression? In a real estate transaction, what are some ideas? What are some ways to leave a good impression within a real estate transaction?
Provide great customer service.
Okay, how?
Communication and setting your expectations.
Yep. I mean,
Going above and beyond for your client.
yep. I mean, it's an old saying, but of course I just went blank as soon as I said that. Yeah, Homer, it'll come to me in a minute. But keeping your promises, tell them I'll call you this day at this time, or I'll call you on this day, and do it. Like Tyler, exactly, knowledgeable about the process and the market. As long as you can explain it to them, very rarely, I mean, I'm going to sell, me on my team alone, I'm going to sell about 35 homes this year. That means I've done this 35 times this year. What's the average time how long do people keep homes till they, I'm losing words today.
5 to 7 years.
5 to 7 in this market right now. It used to be 7 to 10, but in the last, 10 or so years, it's gone to 5 to 7. So they've done this once every, say, 5 to 7 years. And like I said, I do this 35 times. I did 35 times this year. So you got to know the processes, show them and explain them what's next. One of the big things I do, especially, I don't show many houses anymore, but one of the things, there's all sorts of photos of me around at closing tables with babies on my lap, playing with toys, playing with coloring books, watching videos. Because we go to the closing table, you got mom and dad and their two-year-old, and the 2-year-old's losing their mind, and they're having to sign a stack of paperwork like this. I start playing with the kids. Even when I'm showing houses, I'd start playing with the kids because one, the kids are more fun to me, but 2, it gives the parents time to go look. It takes it off their plate. And what's more than, I said we don't do a lot of closing gifts, but if we do, usually it's to the kids more than the parents. We'll do things throughout the year to the parents, and we give, everybody gets a keychain with our logo on it. We give them a gift certificate for a photo session that it's a photographer we use, and she does a photo session. The first hour has to be at the house. And then I get a copy for marketing because that's now a marketing expense, not a gift expense, which I can claim more marketing than I can gifts. But do people use that gift certificate? I think we've had 3 or 4 in the 2 years we've been doing it. But I get credit for the gift. They know I gave it to them. We do a bunch of little things like that. To me, it's make it a family thing to make a good impression. We have the house cleaned. We have it for our buyers and for our sellers. We tell them we're closings. We always put 3 o'clock on all of our closings. 3 o'clock. We tell them they get possession at 5 o'clock, and we bring our cleaner in and clean the houses for our buyers and our listings. We on their 1-year anniversary. You guys got anywhere around you? Got any of you? Do you have Crumble cookies? You heard of them? Yeah, we get them a dozen Crumble cookies on their 1-year anniversary, and have it dropped off at the front porch with the cutter. It comes with a cookie cutter. These are little things in my mind, but people love them. I mean, I'd much rather do that than spend $7,000 a month on Zillow like some agents do, or buy them a $500 closing gift. I mean, I'm spending probably more as the year goes on. We send out, my biggest expense is postage. We send out cards and letters all the time. Birthday cards. I sent out like 6 birthday cards to past clients today. They all had birthdays in December. So that's leaving a good impression. So any other ideas? I don't have the corner on it. There's more out there. What would you like to see? If you were the client, what would you like to see?
Honesty and timeliness.
Mm-hmm. Anybody ever been? No. Anybody been in the restaurant the last year? I would say the last couple of weeks. That's probably not true, but last year, does the good service stand out? The good hostess, the good waitress, the good, whatever, the maitre d', whatever you got, you can always tell the good ones compared to the bad ones. I mean, we're in customer service just like that. You go to Nordstrom's compared to a Mervyn's. Or do Mervyn's seem still around? I don't know. I don't shop very often for clothes. Oh, JCPenney. There you go. So you go to Nordstrom's. I mean, who's gone shopping at Nordstrom's compared to going shopping at JCPenney's? It's a world of difference. And so, I mean, it's just not the quality of the close, it's the service. So be good
Maybe
stewards.
following up or do what you say
Mm-hmm.
and consistency. If you say you're going to do something, do it
Mm-hmm.
and be timely and build that rapport.
Mm-hmm. Very much so. The big one's communication, because a lot of agents, once they get them under contract, poof, the agents disappear. And they may show up at, inspection, but then, I mean, they're not communicating. As long as you're out front communicating with people, I mean, there are some deals when I know, especially going in, I know the seller may be a little more difficult. My goal is to tell them, my goal is for them to say, hey, you called me enough, we're good. I mean, I don't want them to ever say, I didn't know, or they never told me. If you can get through a transaction where the client can't say, I didn't know, or they didn't tell me, you have created a good impression, because most agents can't. It's fact of life, unfortunately. Average real estate agent sells 4.5 homes in the year in the Valley. So, all right. So, one of the, yep. Who was that? Did I cut somebody off? All right, I'm gonna keep going forward. Abe Sharif, you'll hear his name. If you haven't been with Keller Williams for a while, you will hear his name eventually. He's one of the top MAPS coaches, one of the top coaches in Keller Williams. He's out of Utah. Abe's a good guy. I had a couple coaching calls with him one time, and one of the things he told me right off the bat was, we all as real estate agents have two businesses. Your first business is your morning business, and that's your lead generation and your lead follow-up and your client care. And your afternoon business is selling real estate. And until you hit your morning goals, your afternoon business doesn't get to open. Because we all have, I don't have a whiteboard in this room. The goal, let's see if I can do this on Zoom. Who knows what that is?
Okay. A squiggly line.
That's the lifeline of a real estate agent. Real estate agent is right here, and they are lead generating, they're lead following up, things are going well, they're meeting with clients, they're talking with clients, they're talking with lenders. Oh, look, they got one in escrow. Oh, look, they closed it. Oh, wait, I was busy working on that and I wasn't doing all the other stuff. And so now I got no leads, I got nobody to talk to, I got no buyers. Oh, wait, I better start doing that again. Okay, I'm gonna start talking to people again. I'm gonna start lead generating, I'm gonna start working. Oh, wait, I got a buyer, we're gonna get into contract. Oh, we closed. Oh, here we go in. That's the average lifespan of a real estate agent. That's what it looks like. These are months at a time. Boom, boom, boom. 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. Our job here with Ignite is to make it look like that. Our job is to flatten that out as best we can. And that's what Ignite is about. Unless you're really, really, really good with your money, to get paid every other month, will that work? To get a paycheck, because I mean, depending on, we're all in different markets, but I know the Salem market, the average commission check's about $7,500. If I got one of those every other month, I would not be able to survive. I said before, and I'll say it again, my mortgage company does not have a sense of humor. They want their money every month when they ask for it. And so our goal here is to learn how to flatten that out. We don't want the roller coaster. That's why agents only last 2 to 3 years in real estate. They get stressed out by this. I'd rather, instead of closing 3 deals and no deals, I'd rather do 2 and 1 or 2 and 2. And I mean, try to figure out how to level that out so that there's less stress in your life. Real estate can be stressful. It very much is.
You did real estate for 9 years, you said?
I did, well, for the first 9 years, I've been doing it for 15. The first 9,
with 2 jobs.
Yeah, first 9 I did it with 2 jobs.
And how did you manage, you mentioned morning lead gen, you can't sell real estate in the evening until and how did you juggle all that? And
the majority of the time I worked for the state, I worked 3 12-hour shifts, and I worked 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. So I was working graveyard 3 days a week.
Okay.
And then the rest of the time I would do my business for the majority of that time. I honestly prefer graveyards. I would rather, I mean, I wish we could sell real estate at 2 a.m. I prefer that, but it doesn't work that way. I'm a night owl. So yeah, that's how I did it. And I just found time. I mean, was I selling the amount of deals I am now? No, obviously not. I mean, I was working had a full-time job, and I could have left that job after about 3 years, but I wanted to get to my 21 years. So I had my retirement and everything. So
Yeah.
I did that. So yeah, I mean, that is the whole goal of this whole thing. I know we're throwing a lot of stuff at you over how many weeks this is now. But this is the reason right here that we're doing all this. It's that simple. We want you guys to be able to flatten this out and make your life less stressful, and you stick around. I mean, we're all competing against each other, but I want you all to stick around. I mean, that's one of the things about KW is life. We're all in it together. Some offices, you go to other offices. If any of you have ever been to other offices, you've seen it. It's a little cutthroat at times. I mean, we're all in this together, so let's get this figured out. So follow up at page 25. Follow up. Most certainly follow up with everyone. We have a 400-day follow-up plan for all of our closed deals. And that includes the seller, the buyer, and we have orphan buyers, anybody that buys our listings, because I know darn well the other agent is not following up with them. So I'm following up with them. And I've closed and I've sold houses that again, from buyers of my listings. So that talks about the 33 touch plan. It's going to go to the 35 touch and MREA to maybe even 36 they've talked about, but we'll see how that goes. But be that person that follows up. That have somebody that may want to buy in 2 to 3 years and they know they won't follow up with them, so they'll give me their name because they know I will. Oh, my internet connection is unstable. Yeah, good question. Anybody get any responses yet from the text? Anybody? Bueller? I'm an 80s kid, I'm sorry. Bueller? Oh, we got one. Yay! Look at that. One response to 7 texts.
I did.
Worth it.
She said,
It's not good when you laugh first.
I know, right? She said it's possible. We're looking for a double wide trailer to relocate to the Eugene area. Might be out of your scope. Asking because I found I need a house in winter.
Huh? Are they looking for land? Are they looking for an
Oh,
apartment?
I told her so that's what I was thinking. I told her I had an appointment with her tonight. If you recall,
Okay.
find out more of what she's looking for. Because I can help on the land side and probably point her in the direction for a manufactured home.
Yep, exactly. See, there we go. Ben Kinney, if you haven't heard him, he's up out of Bellingham, Washington, leads the #1 real estate team in Keller Williams. Actually, #2 now. Down in Houston, they took over #1. But he does that every year, his team. That script basically I gave you. They call through their entire database this time of year, third quarter. So it works. So follow-up plans. When you sell a house to a buyer, especially with Command, we use that a lot for Command, is the neighborhood, I can't even say neighborhood. There we go. They have the neighborhood, I can't remember the name of them now. Today's a rough day for remembering stuff. What do they call them? I'm bringing it up right here so I can look at it. Smart Plans, the biweekly neighborhood search. Neighborhood nurtures, there you go. If we set all of any potential listing, I set up on that, any potential, any buyer that's bought a house, as soon as they buy it, we set them up on that. Because that's 2 touches a month right there that you don't have to do. That they get directly from you, branded by you to them. And they all, I watch, they all open them because they want to see what's going on in their neighborhood and see what things are selling for and see what people are doing. Then if you throw in, say, a monthly newsletter, we do a monthly newsletter that goes out to everybody in our database. So right there, that's what, 36 touches right there in those 3 things on all those people. And we're talking 33 touch. Then if you get to know them and you get birthdays, Who knows the best way to scrub for people's birthdays?
Is it Facebook?
Yep. Every day, if you go on Facebook every day, just log on. It'll tell you whose birthdays are today. And if they're in your database, that birthday should be going into your database. Give them a call, send them a card, shoot them a text. I mean, everybody's gonna be texting them. So I would say lean away from text. I would say call or send them a card. We send cards to everybody. Our real close, I call them the money makers, the people that send us a lot of referrals. I'll call them, I'll use Slide Dial. I don't know how many you know what Slide Dial is. It rings once and goes directly to their voice message. And I'll tell them on the Slide Dial, there's a reason I use Slide Dial, not that I'm avoiding them, but I will tell them, hey, too bad you didn't answer. I was going to sing happy birthday to you. Well, I hope you have a great birthday. Talk to you later, and hang up. They all call back because they want me to sing happy birthday. And I tell them, no, you got one shot. You didn't pick up the first time. So they'll all call back though. What else? What else you guys think are ways to follow up with people? Nobody? Nobody's got a follow-up plan or idea?
Like the Thanksgiving pies that we deliver to them, or in Christmas, New Year, we give them some small gifts, sending them cards.
Mm-hmm. We do a lot, well, not right now. We did pies this year. We always do pies. We do a movie night, usually when we're not under COVID restrictions. We do what's called Picks in the Park, which we have several photographers that come out, and we go to a park and we line up our people in half-an-hour increments, and they get family photos for free on us. We also do, we did a movie night. We're trying to come up with we were going to do a big event this last year in August. But then that kind of COVID, we were going to do Barks and Brews to raise money for the Humane Society. And we were working on that, but COVID kind of crushed that. So we'll see if we can get that lined up for next year. But it's not just those 4 events. When you do those 4 things, there should be 3 or 4 contacts for each one of those events also. Like on the pies, a month ago, we sent out a text or an email. We started with an email that went out saying, hey, for pies. Week later, text went out. Week later, phone call went out. A week before, another text went out. The day before we were handing out pies, we went and confirmed with everybody that wanted to receive a pie, because we had to deliver them this year, that we were bringing the pie the next day with a text. So it's just not like when you do an event, it's just not the one event. Then on a lot of our events, like with people, like in the past, when people come to us, you'll always get no-shows. And so we followed with them afterwards. Sorry you couldn't make it. We donated your pie to the Union Mission, just so you know. So if you start thinking that way, it's not all, 33 times I picked the phone and called them. No, there's all sorts of other ways you can come up with ways to follow up. And this is all just about staying top of mind. As long as you're providing some kind of value, which would be the data, the neighborhood nurture, the newsletter, just a general, and a quarterly call just to check in. Hey, how you doing? You're going to be way above so many people. So, all right. Any questions about that part? Look at that, we're just flying. Popeyes, who's that? Yes, Popeyes. When COVID first hit in March, when we locked us down, I have a friend that owns a True Value, Ace True Value here in Salem, and she got us a bunch of flowers, little 75 cents a piece. We made little yard signs out of popsicle sticks. We made little signs with our logo on it, and we put them in like yard signs and all the plants, and we dropped them off. We did 150 of those in 2 days. And I think I had about 30 Facebook posts with our picture of our flowers and our little yard sign that next week.
That's cool.
I mean, just Popeye. It was just something I'm like, hey, look, because me and my wife were like, how do we get, because we were making phone calls, we were doing texts, just checking on people, see how they're doing. Basically the talk was, we're able to get out and about and do stuff. Is there anything you need? Any way we can help you? Because, the first lockdown was a little more stringent feeling than this one seems to feel, but we were trying to help people. And then we're like, okay, how can we make them feel better? And so I was like, hey, let's give them flowers. So we went and did all that. So little things like that. did that take time and effort? I think the whole process cost me like $75, and we got 2 listings and a buyer out of it, literally at the front door as we were dropping off the flowers. One of our old clients walked out when we were there, because we were just dropping them off and leaving. We weren't even knocking. Walked out as we were walking up. She goes, "Hey, we want to sell and buy something bigger." I'm like, "Okay, when?" "Now." So there's a listing and a buyer right there. And another one, same thing. "Hey, met me at the front door. Hey, we were just going to call you. We want a list."
What was your papa? You were delivering flowers?
Yeah, just the flowers. I was just dropping them by. They were just a little pansy. We had we had pansies, we had snapdragons, we had all sorts of, they're like $75 a piece, or 75 cents a piece is all the flowers were. There was, it was, or something like that. I don't know. I think the total bill for everything ended up being like $75. And we did like 120, 130 of them, I think it was. So it's almost a year ago. My mind doesn't think
Just
that
a
far
flower
back.
with your business card?
It was we took a popsicle stick, and then we made on cardstock just little yard signs that look like our sign, and put them in the yard, and put them in the pot. Because we have custom yard signs, so custom for sale signs. So it looked like that, and we put them in the pot. So it looked like the flower was for sale. Just something simple. And you know what? We were bored at home too. So we spent a couple hours making those little signs, and that kept me and my wife entertained for a couple hours. So during a lockdown. Customer satisfaction.
Oh,
sorry, go ahead. No, you're fine.
So with all these little expenses and things to kind of make it personalized and kind of keep connected and keep in touch, are there other trainings or resources, like especially someone who's just starting out, can keep track of those expenses? And then how do you go about, what is a write-off, or what is something that just comes out of your pocket? Or I think I'm like, all of these sound great, but how do I start?
I'm going to tell you, first thing I tell you is you need to speak to an accountant, because that's legally what I got to tell you. The other thing is, if it's anything to do with business at all, it is a write-off. All that stuff, everything we did was write-off. The mileage was write-off. You either get to do mileage or gas, whichever one. Usually mileage is more. So keep track of both. So at the end of the year, your bookkeeper account, whoever's doing it for you, is going to look and say, hey, you're going to be able to take a larger write-off with mileage. Because right now mileage is like 59 cents a mile. For every mile, you get to take 59 cents off your taxes. Whereas gas, you just straight whatever the gas is. So, but that is something. I'm on the LC in my office, and that's one of the things we've been talking about, is how to teach people more about that kind of stuff. The best way is to find an accountant or a bookkeeper that knows real estate that can help you. That's unfortunately that's the best answer I can give you on that part. The other thing is, expense-wise, we're debt-free. We've completely been debt-free from day one. My whole thing when I started this was, when I was doing both jobs, is I wanted to be able to fold it up at the end of the month if something happens, if it doesn't work out. So I could have, today, if I wanted to, I could shut down my real estate business and I owe nobody anything. Nobody anything. That wasn't good English. I don't know anything to anybody. And so there are ways to do it on the cheap. There are websites. If you Google Pop Buys, there are multiple websites out there with ideas. And Pop Buy Gifts, because it's just not a real estate thing. All sorts of companies do it. All sorts of people do it. Direct marketing, the Mary Kay's, the Tupperwares, all of them, they all do Pop Buys. So there's websites out there about it. So if you just do Pop Buy Gifts, you'll come up with lots of options of things. To me, I'm fairly cheap. I run in a very tight financial ship when it comes to the business. So I find the easiest and cheapest one to do usually. And if it's a matter of labor, I'll put in the labor. Because I think it's fun. Like I said, the popsicle sticks was fun. We sat there and we made a little production line. It took us 2 hours to get them all made. Once we figured out how to not get the glue gun everywhere and all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
This is Tori again. I got
Yep.
two from my text messages.
Nice.
One of them was, hey, so excited to hear about this and congratulations to you. I don't have any needs right now, but I'd be really happy to start sharing your name as a referral. So that's cool.
Yeah.
And other one is a person who I've already kind of been talking with, and they said, I just wanted to give you an update. Thanks for asking me to get on your calendar. I have an appointment with a divorce attorney on December 10th. So let's check in on the 12th. And I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. So.
Well, I've been in the middle of several of those, not always the funnest, but yeah, there you go.
I know, right?
Make sure they're on the same page. Or at least their attorneys are on the same page. I've had both. I've had where they were on the same page. I've had where they weren't on the same page and try to deal with it. And I've had it where the attorneys are on the same page. As long as they're on the same page or the attorneys are on the same page, you're good. If nobody's on the same page, it gets ugly really quick. I yelled it to, like the first one I ever did. They were arguing over $500 the day before where they were supposed to sign. And so, and everything I had to do with them, I had to do by text. And I had to group text because they wouldn't talk together. And so eventually I finally sent them a text saying, "You need, I will never will be one. This deal is going to fall apart and both of you are going to get nothing except a house you have to deal with each other get longer. You guys get back to me on what you decide to do." So like 2 hours later, I get a text from him saying, yeah, we're good. And so I text her, "Are we good?" She's like, "Yep, we're good." All right. That's not my role to be the attorney. So good luck. Long story. Okay, client surveys. Page 26. I'm going to tell you, out of a lot of things that we've done here, this is probably one of the most important ones right here. The client survey. Look at it. Read it over, give this to them either at the closing table or the day after. Let them feel like they've been heard. That's what this is. If for some reason the deal went horribly wrong, which happens once in a while, still give them this. This is the old honey, catch more flies with honey than vinegar. Let them feel like their voice was heard after the deal was done. We do ours via SurveyMonkey. As soon as we switch it from under contract to close in our CRM, they get an email from SurveyMonkey, and it's asked basically these questions. And it is so important, I think, to have this out there for them to be heard, and you'll clear up, even if it was a messy transaction and people aren't happy, this clears a lot of that up just by them being able to say so. So I would highly recommend you come up with some way to do this in your business. Ask for feedback. See page 27, ask for feedback. Once again, closing table. That's usually the best time. Our goal in 2021 when we had our business plan is to get to 300 Google reviews. We have a lot of Zillow reviews, but we only had 22 Google reviews. People are starting to move away from Google when it comes to like the reviews or Zillow and more towards Google. So our goal is to get to 300. Number one agent in Salem has 197. So I want to be ahead of that one. We had 22. And right now our planning retreat was October 10th, I think it was. I don't know, whatever day that was. So a little over a month and a half ago, and we're at 70 already. Yeah, it was October 10th, and we're at 70 already from the 22.
Which one you prefer, the Zillow one? I think because most of people, they go and check on Zillow more than Google. That's why I got confused if I need to ask them to make a review on different website or even KW. I said it's Zillow. What do you think?
The reports and things nationally that are coming back are that people are looking at homes on Zillow, but they're relying more now on Google reviews. Zillow used to be the one. They go straight there and everything, but they're leaning away from that. The word's starting to get out on Zillow that it's not always accurate, that if you pay Zillow money, you tend to get a little higher ranking and things like that. So it is feeling more, and people are, from what I see and from what my coach talks to me about, is it's more Google right now. And so our goal is once we hit the 300 on Google, we're going to go to Facebook, and then we're going to circle back around to Zillow and try to get them all to 300.
So how you get the review on Google?
You set up a business Google page for
Okay.
you,
Mhm.
and then you just start, like on all of our pies this year, had a little sticker with a QR code that said, hey, you know, if you haven't already reviewed us, and it gave instructions on how to scan that and review us. And we were sending out text messages and emails, and we've just been, you know, following up with past clients. And if you haven't reviewed us, please review us, family, friends, everybody. So the one thing about Zillow too is anybody can review you on Google. Zillow, if they are not attached to a house, they can't, their Zillow review won't show up.
Mhm.
So
But you-
like
but
my sister and brother-in-law in Las Vegas, who bought multiple houses in Las Vegas, and I have referred them out. They have never technically bought a house with me, so they couldn't leave me a Zillow review, but they've left me Google reviews because I have helped them. So,
Okay.
all right. So
Thank
that's
you.
what I'm hearing. That's what I'm being told. And yeah, I see somebody taking a break. If you guys need to take a break, take a break. I'm just going to keep motoring through this unless everybody wants me to stop and let you take a break. I'm one of those people that like power through. Let's go early. So I see Amanda shaking her head. Yep. All right. Okay. So yeah, that's where we're, you know, ask for the feedback, give them the opportunity. One thing with this, by the way, just so you know, one thing with the survey, everybody gets the survey, no matter how horrible. I've had, you know, some transactions where me and my client may have been yelling at each other at the end. So maybe me, maybe them, somebody, but everybody gets the survey. Now, the people, the couple, few, I mean, maybe in the almost 300 transactions I've done in my career, maybe there's 5 people that has not gone well. And weren't able to fix it. They got the review once. Everybody else gets it 2 or 3 times to fill out, but everybody gets it once at least. So, number 2, handwritten thank you notes. I talked about that earlier. We send a ton of notes out, a ton of handwritten cards, birthdays, anniversaries, just checking on people, saying hi. So that's kind of our thing. So, but we get a lot of responses from it. It says here, movie ticket, gift certificates, anything they will need for the new home, relocating, include several business cards and all their stuff. And then just keep in touch. Once they become a client, don't lose them. Don't lose them to somebody like me who will keep talking to them and keep following up with them. And well, if they jump on my website, they're going to hear from me until they buy, sell, die, or tell me to go away. So, which my daughter, who is my runner and does a lot of my mailings, she ran into that the other day. The person had died, and the son called, and she got a little upset. My daughter did. I'm like, that's how, you know, I didn't know that person was no longer with us. I'm sorry, dear. It's not my fault. Right. Okay. You're having trouble. There are some items. Okay. It says here on page 28 to write down ideas for gifts. Space there. You can start writing. Some of the things are return address labels or just move postcards, pre-printed form. Like I said, we give the return address stamp. You know, if you, it says another suggestion, if they're new to the area, you know, a book about the area or links to local stuff that they can see and go look at. If you come up with a list of referrals for local businesses that you can give out, possibly coupons for them. I mean, there's different things you can do. You know, you have here's my allied resource database I can give out to people. And that's one of the things I tell people all the time. I don't necessarily give that out. I have a long list of vendors and stuff that we have contacts with and we can use. I don't necessarily give that whole list out, but I do remind people all the time when I'm talking to them and emailing them that I have that list if they need anything. People I trust, and most of the people on the list have worked in my home. So, I mean, I tell them that. I do trust them all. So one of the big things you hear about is throw a housewarming party for them.
Call 541-246-8222.
Sorry, no. So any ideas of gift ideas? One of the things I will try to steer you away from and tell you to think twice about. Gifts that can be consumed. Give them a bottle, really nice bottle of wine. All right, after the first week or two, maybe it's gone. They don't see it anymore.
What about a spin on that, like a gift certificate to a nice restaurant where they're going to consume it, but it's also an experience?
It could be, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would include something else along with that. Because like we used to, for years, we gave away cutting boards with our logo on it that said, welcome home. And that's what we gave to our buyers. I still, like, I'll go to list an old house I've been into, or I'm just stopping by to say hi, or, you know, friends or whatever. And I still see the cutting boards up above people's cabinets or on their counters and stuff. I see enough of them. I doubt they're placing them there because they know I'm coming over. But, you know, you see enough of them out there, people are keeping them, so they're remembering. And there's my logo right there. Besides, anything with your logo is considered marketing. You can write off more. Anything that doesn't have your logo on it is considered a gift, and you can only do $25 per person. So any other ideas? Food gifts too is great. I mean, I like a good meal, so yeah, those work great. Anything else? Anybody crafty? Anybody, you know, I mean, I always hear sorts of different things. There was one thing we used to do, but we stopped doing it because we got the cleaners. We would, on our buyers, we would give them, from the dollar store, we'd give them a bucket. And in the bucket was a roll of toilet paper, a roll of paper towels, some dishwashing cleaners, rubber gloves, some just straight like cleaner, bottle of dollar cleaner. I mean, all these things cost $1. A screwdriver set with Phillips and flathead, and a wall picture hanging thing that the dollar store sells, all in the bucket, saran wrapped. That we'd get that at closing. Because one of the first things people want when they move into a new house, when they're unloading, two things they're looking for they can never find: paper towels and toilet paper. So we got a lot of, I mean, that cost us like $11. I think there was the bucket, and there was like 11 things. People love those. See, to me, it's those little things. I don't go big on hardly anything, but I do a lot of little stuff. So nobody got any ideas? Come on. I'm trying to stoke the brains here. Come on. I heard some people starting groups and clubs, and what could you give around that? I'm a hiker. I like to hike. What do you did South Sisters last year in September? Actually, not last year, a couple months ago.
What about like a doormat?
Yeah, there's tons of websites out there with doormat. I would caution like logos on doormats, because people, you know, maybe you can put the doormat on the other side or their name, but logos on doormats are a little, in my mind, a little tacky if the whole doormat's your logo. But you're their name and maybe your logo in the corner, something like that. But or just their name. I mean, it doesn't even have to have your logo on it, but or your name. But most certainly, yep, we've done those too. Anybody? Coffee mugs? Yep. Gene Rivers. He's one of the head coaches for MAPS, and he's out of Florida. He works where he does most of his business. He does a lot of condos and high rises in South Florida. And where his office is, he has a giant industrial park with skyscrapers all over the place. And he buys thousands of coffee mugs a year with his logo on it. And every time, most of his clients work in those buildings, and every floor has a kitchen. And his goal is to fill the kitchens on all those floors with his coffee mugs. So anytime any paperwork needs to be done or anything needs to be done, he has it delivered to them at their office with a coffee mug. I mean, he said, you know, one client could have 4, 5, 6 coffee mugs, and they don't take them home. What do? They leave them in the kitchen at work. And so that's his goal. So he buys them all the time. Cesar Reefs, there you go. I like that. Do something different. Find something different. Reefs are different. I like that. They'll stand out. So, all right. Oh, boss is back. We got to get back to work. Okay. Page 29. Get paid. This goes back to when I was talking about the MCA. You guys are going to learn command through this program and through Ignite, and that's all fine and dandy, and that's going to help you. but Command or your market center is going to help you through all this, your MCA. So as long as you sit down and talk to them, that's going to take care of this whole page right there. Sit down and talk to them, or at least give them a phone call with COVID and everything on. The CM pins, yep. You know, it's funny, if you got a local business you work a lot with, tell them you'll donate them all your all their pins they use for people to sign at the counter. If you know somebody has a restaurant, or you know somebody that has where there's a counter and people are signing off slips, could be a contractor, could be whatever. Tell them up, hey, I'll supply you a year full of pins. So there's one other thing. So the page 29, talk to your MCA. He or she, because they're both, is going to explain this much better than I can. You just want to make sure you're keeping up with Command and making sure you're getting all the documents in. I don't even do that anymore. My wife, who's our ops manager, I honestly haven't put a doc in Command since we got Command. I don't know. I probably don't even know how. I probably figure it out, but so I can't really explain this one very well, but talk to your MCA. There we go. Contract close, page 30. My instructor paperwork sold. It still talks about e-edge. You guys probably don't even know what e-edge is. That was before Command. You want to make sure you're prepared to close on page 30. Add your buyer, make sure your buyers and sellers, everybody's in your database. It says add your resources. We have a full section of our lenders, our inspectors, they're all in our database. They all get on all our events, they get invited. Should you have a section in your database for other agents outside of KW? Are we a profit share company? Should you have a section in your database section in your database for agents that are not with KW that you have interaction with, to remind you to check in with them and follow up and 33 touch them? And most of them don't even know what that is, but you're going to do it to them and they won't realize it's happening, because most real estate companies don't teach follow up and contact. And yep, they can be in your downline. Yep, exactly. If you have a great transaction with an agent and you decide, you know what, I don't think they're ready now, or whatever reason, make a section in your database for them. Remind you to follow up and touch with them and just check in with them. If you've got a good connection with your lender, when you close on a deal, ask them their clients' birthdays. You may not know them. If they don't know you very well, they're not supposed to tell you their full birthday, because that's private information. Falls under like social security number and all that kind of stuff. But I just want the day and month. That's all I care about. I don't need to know the year or anything like that. And if my lender tells, the lender we use, 2 lenders we use, they tell me their day and month, just because they know what I'm using it for. So I know to follow up on their birthdays. It talks about identify calendar system. That kind of goes back to your CRM and your 33 touch. If you pre-plan these all out, if you're using Command, it's pretty easy because you just put it in there and it'll tell you when to do it. That's kind of how my CRM is. I don't use Command, I use Firepoint, but I've used it forever. So we just it's all preset, so I don't have to figure out my calendar. But if you get this all preset out beforehand, it makes it a little easier. Same thing with contract to close. If you know on your calendar, or you have a whiteboard, or you have some way that you can just look and see, this is the deadline for this, this is the deadline for that, it makes life much easier. All right, let's see. I got my recall and remember questions here. Page 33. We're almost done. What are the 4 steps process outlined in this chapter to have a successful closing? I know we talked about it like 2 hours ago. Knowing the process, would that be one of them?
Communication.
Yep. See, work from a plan. Have some kind of system in place. That all sound familiar? We talked about that. Somebody nod? Yep, couple nods. Okay, there we go. In the contract to close process, what step is after the offer acceptance and why is this important? What's the next thing that happens? Once the contract is accepted, you send it to title, you send it to the lender. What's the next thing that's going to happen in the process? I'm going to get somebody on this. I know I am. Inspection. New.
We're going to validate the title.
There you go. Clear. You're going to get that within 5 days. You're going to get that way before you have your inspection. They have to have that done within 5 business days. The lender title does. And so you will get a clear title report, which is the preliminary title report. That's the first thing that happens. Go through and read that. The main thing is on page 2 or 3, sometimes 4, depending on how long it is where all their liens are at. Make sure you know what those are. Make sure there's nothing as a surprise. Make sure there's not some lien. There's some sellers could have liens they don't know about. If somebody, there's mechanical liens and other things that can be put on them that they may not be aware of. So go through and look. I had one that besides the house, he had $195,000 in construction liens, different small ones. He was a contractor and he was leveraging his house, which was no big deal because his plan was the house was worth way more than what he owed and he was just going to pay them all off. That was his plan. Well, my seller saw it, or my buyer saw it and freaked out. What's going to go on? He owes so much money on all these things. Well, I didn't pre-read the title. I should have, so I could have been ahead of it. So when you get the title report, read it, see what the liens are. You'll see mortgage lien, you see, $280,000 to Wells Fargo. Okay, that's a mortgage. And then you'll see one for utilities because all utilities put liens on properties when they put, when you get water, gas, all that kind of stuff, there's a utility lien. So that's all normal, but just read to make sure there's nothing out of the ordinary. And ask title. If you don't recognize something, ask them. They'll tell you exactly what it is. Why is closing a good time to ask for referrals and testimonials? You're muted, but I thought everybody's happy. Yep. What are the resources in your market center to help you with this kind of stuff? We've talked about that.
Your MCA.
Starts with a P, ends with a C, the PC. Productivity coach, team leader. If your office is big enough to have an assistant team leader, ALC members. I'm on the ALC. I'm in charge of the wellness committee. Anytime anybody wants to, if you're in my market center, I think I saw a couple on here that I recognize. My door, I'm at the end of the hall on the right. Come by, stop by. If you're visiting, the end of the hall on the right, you'll see my logo up on the wall. Stop by. My door is closed. I ask that you knock. Otherwise, come on in. So mostly, every ALC member I know, Matt's from the ALC, they're all that way. Just come on in. We'll answer questions. That's why we volunteer to be on the ALC. Okay. Oh, and I'm supposed to call you captors in training. That's right. You guys are captors in training. If I didn't call you that already. Any questions? Any ahas? Any more information? I'm full of useless information if you guys want it. Excuse me.
You usually join your clients for the closing?
Do I what? Sorry, you cut out the first part.
Do you join them? Do you go with them to the title company?
I always did until COVID. Like right now, I had one today and one tomorrow, and the title companies right now in Salem will not let you in the door unless you're a party to signing. So, but normally, yes, I do. I participate in all of them.
Did you take any gifts for them at the closing?
No, nothing at the closing. When I meet them and give them the keys, we give them a keychain. I give them the certificate for a photo, maybe some little things that they got kids, but that's all I do. The only time I think I had one deal where I brought, it was some investors that I've worked with, and we sold it took us 6 months to sell a $2.5 million street. They owned a whole street, 5 duplexes and 3 houses. I brought them both bottles of scotch. So, because they're scotch drinkers and I'm a scotch drinker, so I brought them scotch at the closing. Besides that, normally not at closing. There's too much. I kind of feel like, you can bring stuff, but there's just so much going on at closing, especially if they got kids. A lot of my people are families. They got little kids, and it's just, them trying to carry, I've done baskets in the past, and watching them try to carry it out is just always awkward. So I just started doing it at the house. It's easier for me and them.
And when you said that you take your cleaner to the seller and buyer, you claim this write it off as an expenses to the deal?
Yep, that's business expense. It's 1 hour, and she charges me, depending on how hard she has to work, anywhere from, I think the cheapest one I've ever had was $50 up to, our cap is $175 for that hour. And that's if she has to clean all appliances and everything. It's in turn, she has 2 girls she works with, and it's a surface clean. And I tell, especially on our listings, I tell the agent that, so they don't come in and expecting, they're not going to get into the drawers because they don't have time. It's 1 hour, but they will clean all appliances, and they will clean the surfaces and the floors and all that kind of, and vacuuming. They won't vacuum carpets and do all that kind of stuff, toilets and sinks. And so it's pretty much just surface, but you know, it's clean.
Okay, that's a good idea.
Yeah. And we have a cleaner, and it's actually, I met her, her husband is my car guy, who I buy cars from. I'm a car guy. So his wife started a cleaning company, and I'm like, perfect. I know how the family works. We'll do this. So it's good. You should really, in your pocket, you should have a cleaner. You should have a landscaper who you trust, a moving company, a repair, like handyman, not necessarily a builder, but a handyman type person that'll do little jobs, and somebody that'll do like big, like repair denim type work. You should, and you can ask around the office, you can ask the ALC, you can ask they'll give you ideas of people, but you should really have those people. Excuse me. 1, because you're going to get questions asked from buyers and sellers, but 2, you know, I had a listing that, unfortunately, you know, she was 78 years old. Her husband passed away. Son came up, packed her up, and moved her to California with him. And I met them one day, and there was no way she was doing yard work, so I had to get a yard guy out there. And I was able, and we were going on the market like ASAP. So my yard guy, I call him up, and he's like, "Okay, I'll be out there." Next day, he was out there, and they cleaned up the whole yard. Husband and wife hadn't been able to do the yard work in a long time. So people like that to me are important. Like my contractor that does all my repair work, my hot water heater broke. Walked in the house, nothing. Walked out 5 minutes later, water all over the garage floor. The bottom of our hot water heater rusted out in my personal home. I called him up, and he said, "I'll be there within an hour with a hot water heater." And he was. Within an hour, he had 2 guys there, and they replaced my hot water heater like that, because we had not only do I trust him, and we use him a lot. I've made him a lot of money over the years. So he was like, "Heck yeah, I'll be there." And so that's the other advantage of being a real estate agent. If you start making these contacts, he does work on my house all the time, and all I got to pay is for is the parts, not the labor.
Mm-hmm.
So any other questions or ahas or want to knows? It doesn't have to be about closing the deal. It could be about real estate in general.
I have a question about like when you're taking buyers shopping and you're visiting homes, is there anything that you or people on your team do to help make that experience better, easier, you know, keeping track of what they like and don't like in houses, things like that?
Yeah, I mean, there's some just tried and true measures. There's some psychological measures out there you could use that help the people. I mean, you're going to have to print out the MLS. You should have a copy for them, a copy for you, so you can read and they can read. You should always have those. If you are showing acreage properties or any kind of land, there should be a plot map also with their MLS printout showing the land, because they're going to ask you where the corners are or where the edges are at. If you can say, "Look at your sheet, there's a plot map there." Most title companies, all the ones that I know, if you ask them for a plot map of a property and tell them to lay it over Google, they will do Google Earth and put the plot map on top of it so you can see the exact lines from the air. So, I mean, just little things like that to be ready ahead of time. The other thing is, one of the psychological little trick things is when you get done with the house, keep a Sharpie and say, "What do you think of this house?" You know, when you guys go outside or whatever, "Is this a good one? You don't like it? Oh, we don't like it." Take the Sharpie and a big line and cross through the paper. Okay, that one's done. Psychologically in their mind, that house is done if they don't want it, and you're moving on to the next one. I mean, there's little things like that. I mean, if you want to start reading all the psychological books, I like to read those. So anytime I send a card, it's in blue ink and it's at an upward angle, I write, because it's positive, up's positive. So when they read it, it's going up in a positive angle. So Just little things like that. But when it comes to showing houses, just be prepared to know. Just have the sheets ready, the plot map ready, know the area. If it is like we do a lot of farm and ranch on my team, and know what the well pumps. Ask the agent before you go out. Well, things like that. When was the last time the septic was pumped? These are all questions that people are going to ask. So, and that's just something you get used to, knowing what people are going to ask. And if you can have those questions already answered. One of the big things, can we talk about crime rates in neighborhoods? Are we allowed to? All our freshly new real estate agents that just got done with school, are you right?
No.
Nope. Goes back to redlining. You all know what redlining is, right?
Right.
We're not going to sell houses in this area because of crime, because of race or whatever. Okay, it's illegal. We can't do that. You're not allowed. So you have to tell them. You have to look at local police station. The local police website. They will have crime statistics for an area. But we are allowed to tell them about schools.
Yes.
And there are no good schools in bad areas. So all the schools, so you can tell them about schools all you want. So little things like that. So yeah.
Can you just repeat about the land, because I face this issue when I go out showing the lands, because I don't know where is the corner, where is it? Do I need to take the map plot from the title company before I go to showing?
I would take it with you, yes.
But
what I do is, here's what I don't show houses much anymore, but here's what I do. I will print out, so say we're going to look at 3 houses, all acreage. I'll print out 3 client MLS versions. I will ask title to give me a plot map of each one of those. And then I put the plot map under that sheet, the one it corresponds with, and then I staple them together so they can't take them apart. This is the order we're going to look at them in. And so they can just flip through it so that they don't get it all messed up. And because if you just give it to them like a paperclip, it's going to be a mess by the time the 3rd one comes around. And so I just staple it all so they can't take it apart. I mean, if they want to tear it apart, they can, but I've never seen anybody tear it apart. They just flip through it. But yeah, bring the plot map so you can do the corners. Like I said, ask title when you get the plot map if they can do a Google overlay. They all know what that is. And that's just basically they put the lines right over top of the aerial map. They line it up so you can get a very good idea of where the corners are and where the lines are of the property.
Okay, I never did this. I need maybe to ask them to show me how to do it.
Yep. Well, you just ask them. You just ask title. They will send it to you they will do it all for you.
Okay.
The sales rep or the help desk at any title office will do that for you. That's what they're there for.
Because sometimes, most of the times they ask me, but I said, okay, I'll check, I'll get back to you, but I've never have it with me when I go to showing. Yep.
You should always have it with you when you go show property with acreage or land. Even if it's an oversized lot, you should have it because they're going to ask. I mean, it's not a secret question. They will all ask, unless it's very, very, very. I have a 5 acre property right now in Malala that the lines are very defined. It's there's a road, there's a river, and on each side the neighbors are overgrown. I mean, it's really, so people don't really ask because you can see the land exactly where it's at. But that's a rarity. For the most part, they will always ask. So make sure you always have it. That's being prepared and being ahead. Nice dog.
There's a great feature too on Zillow, actually, if you're looking, like if you get stuck and you don't have time to get that information from the title company. You guys probably know it's probably not anywhere near as good as what you'd get from a title company, but just like if caught off guard, if you are on the Zillow listing and then you hit maps, up on the upper right hand side there's something called lot lines, and then you hit that and it'll show the map with the lot lines just for like a kind of guesstimation, at least if you're last minute out looking at a property or something.
Yeah, I've used that before too.
Interesting.
Yep. Yeah. The only problem is, I mean, it works great if you don't have it or you forget. It's a little small, so it's hard for you both to be like, look here. Yeah. Especially with COVID, we don't want to get that close. Yeah. But no, it is. I've used it before, most certainly. So that's a good option. But sorry, Tori, did I answer your questions?
Yes.
Oh, Sherry left. She said no. All right. Okay. Yeah. I can't give you exacts on what to have, but you'll get used to the questions that they ask, and there's not a whole lot of different questions. Like there's not a whole lot of different objectives or objections. They're all the same. Not right now. I got an agent. So you're hosting an open house and the buyer comes in, they say they have an agent. Who knows what the next question is or what the next statement is from you?
Who's your agent?
No.
What is the name of your agent?
Do you like your agent?
The first one I ask them is, great, who's your agent? I would love to let them know you stopped by. Either they'll tell me two things. Well, actually, a couple of things, but they'll either stammer and not come up with a name, or come up with a name after a little bit. So that means they were lying. 2, they'll come up with a name right away, which is they probably do. 3 is they'll say, in the Salem area, they'll say Gladys Blum, because Gladys is number 1 and has been number 1 for years, and her signs are all over the place. So that's an easy one to remember and say. But if they stammer and don't come up with it right away, or they name like Gladys, I know they probably don't have an agent. If they say the agent's name, yeah, so-and-so, okay, great, I'll let them know. And then the next thing is, when they say, oh, great, then you start following up with the, do you like that agent? Do you want to think of this and think of that? And why aren't they with you right now? Why am I helping you? Oh, those different things. So anything else? Anything else we want to know?
And when you want to go to show a land, not a house, what you take with you to show the land?
Same thing. There's usually probably still an MLS printout, and I will take that, and I also take the plot map again. I'll look at, you can look ahead and talk those ones a lot. You're talking to the agent a lot on lands like that. Is there water to the land? Is there electricity to the land? Is there, is there a well, septic? What's been done? See, there's a lot of questions I'd be asking the agent ahead of time. So I had that in my head, but just to take with me would be same thing, MLS and the plot map.
Okay. Thank you so much. Really, it was very good.
Oh, thank you. You're welcome. Well, if nobody's got any other questions, I gotta give somebody some keys. Second best thing in real estate. First best thing, getting the check for giving them keys. So,
I bet.
all right. Well, okay. Well, if you guys enjoyed your time, please let Mara know. My name is Sean Keene with the Keene Group in Salem. If you thought this was a waste of time, my name is Matt Spaeth. And you go ahead and tell Mara that. I don't know if he's on here still. I don't think so. But so yeah, no, it was a pleasure talking to you guys all. I'm gonna put actually right here at the bottom. In the comments, I'll put my information. So let's see, skeen@kw.com. That's my cell. www.net. All right, there's my information. And so that's my cell number. So my email. I would, if you have any questions or need anything, I would recommend emailing or texting. I will answer that quicker than I answer a phone call, but at your own leisure and which way you want to contact. But so there you go. The Sean Keene is actually my KW. That's my web KW site through command. The
I think
Keene
you got
Group
it in private.
Oh, I don't think it came through.
I just sent it to one person.
Oh,
Avery, you're welcome. Let's see. Here I do say. I didn't realize I was on private. There we go.
Adios, guys. Gotta go.
There we go. There it is, everybody. So yeah, the Keene Group is my CRM, and the SeanKeene.com is my command website.
oops, I spelled your name wrong. Sorry, Sean.
Who spelled it wrong?
I said thank you, Sean, but I spelled it wrong.
Oh, that's all right. That's the sort of right way. Mine's the good Irish way. So, all right. Well,
thank you so much for your time. Lots of good information.
Excellent.
Yeah,
that's
that's
what I like
great.
to hear.
Thank you.
Yep. If you have any questions, like I said, there's my information. Otherwise, good luck to y'all.
Go make
Thank
those
you.
people smile.
I will. You guys have a good day.
Bye.
You
Bye.
too.